Is the pool party over? Jordan Poole has become, I think, the latest scapegoat for Dub Nation. I'm guilty of it. Are you? Right? Where you just the frustration with Poole has come to a tipping point right now at this season. And part of that is the losing. And I've had people push back on me and say, you can't just put it all on Poole. And you're right, you can't. But the context of the mistakes and the way the games are being played matters, right? And everybody is making their mistakes and everybody deserves a portion of this blame pie right now. But when you look at Poole's lack of competitiveness on the defensive end, it's inexcusable. And what it does is it makes your mind wander to why is that? What is actually going on behind the scenes? And the chemistry of this team, it hasn't been right all year. And I think the chemistry of this team, it hasn't been right all year. And I think we know that, right? And you can take it back to the punch with Draymond and Poole. And I think that there is a bigger picture issue fitting these personalities together right now. You have this legendary core trying to keep pushing here to extend this light. And Poole, who is ready to announce himself a star in this league. He gets the big bag, but yet he's still coming off the bench. We know the bench start splits his numbers. You can clearly see when he's engaged and when he's not, right? But here's the issue. Steph is Steph, right? He's going to lead by example. He's to his credit, he's, I think, been more of a vocal leader. He's had to have been this year, right? But it's Steph is Steph, right? He's a basketball god. Draymond has taken away his voice because of the punch incident and because of, his pending free agency. And there's various reasons, right? Klay, and I harped on this early in the season, right? You got to hold Klay accountable. And from the start of the new year and from January on, he's been pretty damn accountable to himself and to the team. That was an ugly performance in Memphis. He kind of slipped back into his old ways early in the season. But here's the thing. Klay, you guys watch Seinfeld? Greatest sitcom of all time. I don't want to hear any other arguments, but Klay is Kramer. Klay is Kramer, right? He can burst into the room late and say something wild, and it's Klay. It's just Kramer. It's nothing, right? He plays by different rules. He's not being held accountable because that's just who he is. He's a different type of guy, and I think that Poole is having a hard time with that, right? Where, hey, Klay can zombie out for 3 minutes in a quarter and blow a bunch of rotations and he's still in there, right? And so Klay more or less is setting a bad example to Poole. But what Poole has to understand is Klay doesn't play and isn't held by the same rules as everybody else. He's Cosmo Kramer. He's just a different type of dude. That's what I'm seeing. As far as Poole goes moving forward, listen, Wiseman, he's balling out in Detroit, right? Putting up a bunch of numbers and a bunch of losses. Nah, man, he looks better. Wiseman looks better. He does. And what I would say about Poole is it looks like he needs more structure. He needs more accountability in a place where he's got to be held more accountable. And the way that this Warriors team is put together right now, these legends in the twilights of their prime, you can't do it because they are going to be treated differently. That's just what it is. And I don't think Poole quite can grasp, like, you're not going to be treated like the core, fam. You haven't done none of that, right? Right or wrong, fair or not, that's what it is. And so at this point, the frustration, it isn't right to put all of these woes on Poole, but he is the weakest link defensively, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so I think that it ends up being discouraging, and it kind of snowballs the defense. And I think we've all been out there hooping, right, where you're out there with a guy and you realize, he's not defending a lick. At a certain point, after a certain amount of games, your effort goes down because of it, unfortunately. Not everybody. I know some if you have some dogs, you quote a dog, they just play like that no matter what, like a Dante, right? But eventually, most guys, it becomes discouraging. And the truth of the matter is, right now, at the stage that the core is in, they're not going to have it every night. And in an ideal world, it's Poole, it's Moody, it's Kuminga. On those nights where they don't have it, they serve as the motivation. They're the hungry players, and they help motivate and rise the core guys, right? Not the other way around. And so I think that it's just a weird situation with this generational gap between the players and the young guys not understanding, hey, life isn't fair. You're not going to get the core treatment. They're held to a different standard. We have to hold you to a tighter one. You just have to understand that and play your part. And I think it's a struggle for Poole more so than even Kuminga or Moody. Moody's looking better, man. I'd like to see Moody get more opportunity. So, yeah, and I think people were already talking about this summer. We're already jumping ahead. I don't think at this point anybody has title aspirations this year for this team. I think the logical fan is like, all right, well, let's get in and see what happens. You never know, right? And that's where I'm at with it. But Poole, doing my breakdowns and watching this over and over again, I've come to realize I've come to a point here where I'm so disappointed with his competitiveness defensively. Every little thing he does bothers me. It's just like, dude, everything is extra. And if I feel that way, imagine how some of his teammates feel and the guys in the organization. So I do think it is an issue that's going to come to a tipping point this summer. That big contract kicks in. Dante, who has taken over more of a role than Poole on a make good deal now, is going to test free agency. Bob Myers, is he going to be around, right? But if he is, his kind of superpower is the loopholes within contracts and finding ways to fit contracts into this luxury tax. And so the trade rumors are already swirling, I think. That's the my patrons and I, like, I don't know where it would go at yet, and we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but I'm not sure if Poole is a long-term fit for this team. I've also had people say, well, hey, he's given up. He wants out. That's why he's not defending. And some are saying, well, he defended like that last year. No, this is worse. The difference is last year with GP2, Otto Porter, a healthy Wiggins the whole season. Yes, it wasn't as blatant. It didn't stick out as much because the team defense was so much better. But again, the context of it. I can live with him giving a good effort and getting beat. No one expects him to be GP2, but put up some resistance. Show some competitive spirit. Don't just go floating around, putting your hands up, pretending. You know what it looks like? Because, they go back and they've got to watch the tape. He does stuff. So on the tape, you can't say like, hey, you weren't there, but it wasn't an effort. It's a fake effort thing. And it's really bad this year. You could also just say, hey, he got his bag and it is what it is. He's a scammer. I don't know. So I'm not here to say like Poole's a bum and get rid of him. But I think the way that this season's played out, the relationships, the generation gap between the old and the young, the inability for Kerr to hold everybody accountable the same way. It's impossible. It's impossible. Jordan Poole is the type of personality that needs to be held more accountable, and he needs there to be more structure. And so you're seeing these ridiculous turnovers and these plays where it's just silly. This Texas two-step, it starts in Houston tonight. Goes without saying, they've got to get this. They've got to get this one now. Houston's been playing better. They're young. They're free. They've got nothing to lose. And if they're hot from behind the arc, it could become a problem. And then you head to Dallas. Is both Kyrie and Luka playing? They're in the same situation as the Warriors, so that should be a playoff-like atmosphere. I expect a bounce-back game specifically from the core guys. They had nothing in the tank in Memphis, and they kind of got punked. It was tough to watch, right? But all in all, when you look at the Western Conference standings, none of these teams are creating any separation. It's still all possible for them to stay out of the play-in and, hell, even somehow climb into home court. I'm not holding my breath with that one. But again, no one seems to be right in this jumbled-up Western Conference. And so despite how bad they've looked, the situation remains the same. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.